Welcome to the LumiCast, your premier gateway to the universe of limitless photo editing. Dive into the galaxy of Luminar software and the dynamic world of AI photo editing. Join us weekly for a burst of creativity and the drive to transform your photos with confidence and skill. Broadcasting directly from Clever Photographer headquarters, it's time to welcome your hosts, Jakub and Holly Linton.
And hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of LumiCast, your favorite podcast about photography, photo editing, and of course, Luminar NEO. Now today is the time to be spooky and talk about Halloween. Well, of course, it's me, Jakub, and next to me is my friend and amazing photographer and baby lens lover, Holly Linton. Holly, how are you?
Hi, Jakub. I'm doing great today. Excited for this topic.
Great. So I already mentioned we're going to talk about Halloween and Halloween photography, but what we really want to talk about is creating spooky atmosphere with your photos. But all the way to the beginning, well, let's talk about Halloween. Holly, how do you celebrate Halloween back home?
Well, I'll give you a little history. I guess when I was a kid, Halloween was obviously all about how much candy you could get in one night, and we would usually use a pillowcase to collect all of our goodies and just go door to door and you say trick or treat, and nobody ever does a trick. You just always get a treat. And then as you become an adult and you have your own children, then it's all about, okay, what costumes are you going to get your kids and dress them up all cute, and then tell them not to eat all the candy in one night. And it's also about, there's like lots of decorations throughout different towns. There are always parades, maybe costume parades, whether it's for people or pets, and just lots of decorations that you'll see at this time of year, pumpkins and gourds and all that kind of stuff. So that's really what it's about, and the ringing of the doorbells, the incessant ringing of that. So as far as celebrating, I like Halloween for photography. That's really what I love about Halloween. I could care less about the other parts. But also now in Tennessee, where we live, I don't think there will be one trick-or-treater because they'd have to go up a really high hill, and there's only 5 houses up here. So maybe in more of the communities where the houses are closer together, that's probably where all the trick-or-treaters are here. But that's pretty much it. And just lots of decorations. People like to decorate their yards. So cool. That's what Halloween is like in the USA, from my perspective.
How is it in UK? Well, I should say that people know that I'm from Czech Republic. And actually, I have never seen, I heard about Halloween, but never seen Halloween until I was maybe 25. So until then, it didn't exist, this thing. And then I moved to UK, and eventually I make my way down here to England, where I really got to experience it because, as you mentioned, we actually live in a house in the center of the city. So there is thousands of kids all over the place. And the first year, I wasn't so sure about it, so we didn't do much decorations and stuff like that. But the whole street was decorated, so the next year we went crazy, as you do. And we decorate the whole house now, and we have a music playing and the lights in the windows, and we have a little, a graveyard in front of the house with the witch stuck in it, and it's really lots of fun. But also, because we decorate so much, we also get lots of kids. So, as you said, it's hours of doorbell ringing and giving out treats. But it's a lot of fun. We always set ourselves to watch a horror movie, but it never feels like a horror because you get distracted every 2 minutes of the movie, you know? Mm-hmm. So you put on play and the doorbell ring and it goes on like this. But I love it for 2 reasons. One, I think it's a lot of fun to celebrate it with the kids, so that's good. And I think it really helps the community around here to get together. You get to know some of your neighbors you never met before. And additionally, I think it's a great opportunity for spooky photography or for more themed photography, I guess. You know, you can be really playful with it and do a lot. Mm-hmm. Now, quick question. When do you start to decorate? When do you decorate for Halloween in States?
Oh, gosh. I feel like if you go into the stores, all the decorations are probably out in July. Uh-huh. And then Christmas decorations are out in August. So I'll tell one funny thing. There's a house down the street that has this probably 30-foot skeleton in the front yard, and the house itself looks like it's falling apart. And it has these plastic pumpkins wrapped around the banisters. It's been there for the 11 months we've lived here. So they just leave it up all the time, but I'm tempted to go down to the street and take a picture because there's a house right behind it that's literally falling apart that looks haunted. So some people just leave their decorations up all year long, I guess.
I think the main reason why I was asking for that was to see if you would be able to buy some of the props and things we're going to talk about already. But I guess the answer is yes.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Good. All right. Well, that brings us nicely to the start where we're going to try to differentiate the difference between spooky and scary photography. And for me, the biggest difference is that the spooky is more play with emotions, can be emotional and it can be quite creative, where the scary, depending on the person, can be quite kind of hard and straightforward on emotions. And yeah, this is where you can scare people. So I prefer the spooky part. And the main difference is between, well, scary, when it comes to photography, you would, for example, photograph, a woman dressed as a zombie, maybe with blood dripping on her, or you would try to create like a ghost in a room, or you would try to maybe paint something with blood and leave knives around, stuff like that. Where with the spooky photography, it's not necessarily about the actual monster or the evil thing. It's more about creating a feeling that something could be there. So I'm thinking, for example, empty hallway or like a handprint on a steamed mirror, or maybe a little candle with an old book and a pumpkin next to it. So that kind of feel, I think that can be really creative and it can be a lot of fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I think spooky to me would be that it gives you an air of mystery. Like there's a vibe or a mood that image gives off.
Mm-hmm.
And as you kind of said, it like stirs up some emotion when you're looking at it, whether it's from the color tones, the atmosphere, if there happens to be maybe fog or it's dark, or there's a little bit of light peeking through somewhere, the shadows and all that kind of stuff, that the subject matter of that image makes you go, maybe I shouldn't go behind that door. Maybe I should not walk into those woods just because there's that makes the hairs on your body stand up ooh. It just gives you that feeling. So like you're saying, it's a feeling, almost like the picture itself, like you said, doesn't have a specific scary subject. It's a mood. Mm-hmm. That really is probably the best word to describe what spooky to me would mean in photography.
Great. Yes, exactly. And that's what we're going to try to create. And with our next part, we're going to look at some, let's say simple home ideas on how to create a spooky feel. Now, we both have a list. I have a few things to mention. So obviously, candle or chiffon torch can be quite creative way to control the light, because spooky atmosphere is a lot about light in combination with darkness or shadows. I think that can really be very powerful. So as I say, candle with the reflection and so on can be really powerful. Now you can also create that spooky look, for example, by shooting through fog glass, or you can even create steam by using your kettle, or through simple window, maybe like a through window with drops on it with the water can be really, really nice. Another thing you can do, you can work with silhouettes. You can also use curtains as a kind of diffusers. Even more so if there is maybe some, how do you call it, lace?
Mm-hmm.
So it can create a texture, and or fabric to just kind of soften the light. And as we talked about it a moment ago, since the props are already out and you can buy them, of course, combining these pictures with things like pumpkins, books, mirrors, candles, all items can all add to the overall mystery. So yeah, there's a lot you probably have home already you can use to put it all together and create this really spooky photo. Holly also have some ideas. So what do you have on your list?
Yeah, I always have some good ideas. So in addition to the steam that you talk about, if you steam up your room with the shower, you could then write something spooky on the mirror or the window. Write murder or word, whatever word you want. Now, in UK, do you have Dollar Tree? The store called Dollar Tree. Okay. All the people in the USA, okay, they have to go to Dollar Tree where, okay, everything's $1, except now with inflation, it's $1.29. But I guess they weren't going to change the name of the store to the $1.29 store. Anyhow, they have all sorts of decor. So I would say go there. They have eyeballs. The other day I was there and they had a hand and a leg, like a plastic Halloween decorations. I almost wanted to buy one to give to my orthopedist, give him a fake hand at my next doctor appointment. But they have gauze, like they have the spider webs and all sorts of stuff, fabrics and every kind of scary, spooky, little spiders and stuff like that. So I would say go to Dollar Tree for all these little props, and it obviously affordable, and then just save them for next year. Getting a fog machine, maybe, instead of using trying to steam up your house with your shower. Try to get a fog machine. I'm sure those have different colored lights and different colored fog. And then you just, store that, use that for even portraits and stuff. So it's not just for Halloween. You could try light painting. I haven't done a lot of light painting, but you could use glow sticks or your flashlights and stuff to try light painting outside in your yard. And you can maybe have someone write the word boo, BOO, or something fun like that. Okay, here's another one. If you have a cat, take a picture of your cat. And if your cat's not black, you could probably turn it black in Luminar NEO, right? Just make it black and white and use your cat as a subject to then make your spooky creation later. Okay, have a friend or a family member or even your pet dress in a costume.
Ooh.
Have some fun with those costumes. You can use fairy lights, hang your lights around. You could probably even use your Christmas lights and just to create your bokeh balls behind your subject, add to some spookiness. Then I've seen people put a white sheet on and then cut the eyes out and just take pictures of a person wearing that in like the forest, in the woods. And it's just really funny, but also you can make that really spooky. Don't worry, there's just one left. I would say take pictures of the decorations that you do have and then do a background removal. And then you have all these little objects that you can use if you want to do your composites. So those are just some ideas that I have for things you could do around your house.
Loved it. Well done. That was such a list. I love the light painting. I haven't done that for years. That is lots of fun. You're right. And writing a boo would be a great idea. I was in my head thinking about painting and pumpkin, but I think that would be a little complex to start. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, great ideas. Definitely. And you're right that lots of stuff people probably already have home, but a little investment in things like the fog machine. Now they even sell like a miniature fog machine for portraits. It's just a thing you can, swivel around the person and it just adds a little bit of diffusion to the light. And that's great. Brilliant. Great ideas, Holly. Well done.
Thank you.
Well. So we have an idea on how we would set the scene, but then probably you're thinking in your head, what about the camera and the gear and the settings? And that brings us nicely to the next part where the header should be everything is allowed. Because that's the idea. Halloween photography, spooky photography, when you're thinking about horrors and you kind of images in your head about, like a spooky scenes, nothing is perfect, nothing meant to be perfect. Things like out of focus, too much ISO, so lots of noise or grain, overexposed area, underexposed area, long exposure, so maybe things are you get a little bit of like a motion blur. You can do all of that and it will look great. It will look cinematic and it will really work on this photography. Now, when it comes to gear itself, Holly will tell us a little bit about what you can use on the gear part, but it doesn't really matter if you're going to use your phone or camera. Both of them will work well because specifically this type of photography is not necessarily about the camera settings. It's about what you're trying to capture. And I think if it's not perfect, it looks even more realistic and spooky. Because when we're thinking about these spooky scenes, they are not perfect. They are all about what's happening there. So in that way, what about you, Holly? What do you get about the gear? You have any ideas for us?
Well, of course, I'll say, if you already own Lens Baby lenses, those would probably be perfect to use to try to make a spooky scene. And they're Omni wands that I shared on one of our podcasts. They create different kind of streaks of light and stuff that sometimes almost look like there's a ghost, or some kind of artifact or, kind of not a goblin or anything, but just you could try different crystals. If somebody doesn't have any Lens Baby stuff right now, you could at least just maybe you might have a glass crystal of some kind at home. You could just try to filter the light with some kind of little shiny gadget that you have to see if it creates any kind of like interesting flares. I would also say maybe you could do multiple exposures as something to do in camera. So say take a picture of that ghost, that person with the sheet over their head, and then take a separate picture of the woods behind them and combine them in camera and then play around with your edits, which we'll talk about next. And maybe you can create some kind of more spooky type of effect by using multiple exposures.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, we have gone through the first 4 parts of this podcast. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we return, we're going to talk about editing the spooky atmosphere.
If you're listening to the LumiCast podcast, then we share something in common. We love editing photos, and we love Luminar. It's almost breathtaking what this amazing tech can do for you. On our website, you'll find countless different things to help you be more creative than you ever thought imaginable. From our photo manipulation masterclass to our power bundle with 986 elements, our essential preset bundle, editing software and extensions to our tutorials. Harness the power at the website at www.cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Again, that's cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Now, back to LumiCast.
And we are back for the final part where we're going to be talking about editing the spooky atmosphere. But before that, Holly actually remembered one more piece of gear you can use for creating the atmosphere.
Yeah, in case you don't have any lens baby lenses and accessories, you might already have color gels in your collection. Because I know color filters were popular at some point. So if you do have those, that would be a great way of just changing the mood of your scene. Give your color gels a try. That's all I wanted to add to that.
Well done. Well, actually, talking about what you can put in front of the camera, I also saw a person using, the foil, the wrap you use to wrap your food and put it in the fridge. When you kind of bring few sheets together and you can kind of, scratch it together, when you put it in front of the camera, it also creates quite cool effect. So that's another idea. Well, from that, we are heading into our favorite Luminar NEO, and we're going to talk about editing. Of course, when it comes to spooky atmosphere, quite often it's connected with the idea of cinematic feel, because again, many of us thinking about spooky things we've seen in a TV or movies and so on. So this is where I think the probably easiest and most powerful way to add spooky feel to your photos is with the use of LUTs. Simple color grading, which will also adjust the light and contrast in your images. It takes one click, one slider, and you can be done with it. So get yourself a good set of spooky LUTs, use them in a mood tool in Luminar NEO, and that will really very quickly and easily transform your photos. Now, when it comes to some tools and color grading, another great tool is the color transfer. So idea I had a few months ago, and it can be easily applied to this, is basically find yourself your favorite horror movie, maybe like a Halloween or maybe something even older, and find one of the pictures, get like a screenshot of the picture or maybe get a picture from internet of any of your favorite scene. And then use this picture inside of the color transfer tool in Luminar NEO. And what it's going to do, it's going to use the colors and the toning of this movie and apply it to your photo. So I think this can be a really creative and cool tool. Now, when it comes to some of the tools you can, of course, use, if you're looking for like a really heavy editing or transformation of your spooky photos, Sky AI, you can add really kind of powerful skies with massive moon or maybe like a crazy storm or maybe super gray moody sky. And of course, the sun rays, well, they can be used to enhance sun, but they can be also added in many different things, including your pumpkins and elements, and it can like create crazy light effects. So those are just some of the ideas from me. What about you, Holly?
I like all those ideas a lot. The color transfers, that's a great one for sure. So I have a little list here. Okay, in Luminar NEO, what tools would be great to use for spooky edits? The atmosphere tool. So adding the mist and fog in case you don't have that fog machine. The dramatic tool would be a good one. The glow tool, of course, maybe with those lit pumpkins, you could bring more glow out in those, or even if there is a moon. Perhaps the vignette, maybe, we're kind of taught to don't have a vignette that's too harsh, but maybe for this type of thing, you could make the vignette a little more noticeable. Changing to black and white could make things spookier, or even just desaturating some of the colors in it. Then using the eyes, changing the eyes in the portrait tools. If you're doing a portrait of a person, like trying to include a spooky person in your thing, change their eyes to the cat eyes or the owl eyes. That would definitely do it. And I don't know if there's a way, I guess in Luminar NEO, you could also maybe erase their eyeballs, use the erase tool, erase the eyeballs just so they have just like whites, somehow make whites of their eyes. Then I would say, find all of your pictures that you've already taken of the moon. We just had that harvest moon that we talked about, the woods and the old buildings. Maybe you have pictures of cemeteries, and then use those to make some nice spooky composites. And lastly, I would say play with the opacity and blending modes if you're using layers, so you could give more of a transparent effect or ethereal effect to some of the stuff that you're putting in your layers, so that it looks maybe a little more ghost-like or just, haunted. Mm-hmm. Those would be my editing tips.
Brilliant. I love the erasing of the eyeballs. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to try that immediately after this podcast.
And of course, I should say, use all of the products from Clever Photographer. I think you have some new ones that you're going to talk about, but I know last year in your autumn bundle, there were a lot of great assets that I used with you had ravens and moon overlays and all sorts of scary stuff. So, though I shouldn't have used the word scary, I should say spooky stuff. Definitely, if you already own that bundle, take a look at it and see what's in there. And if you don't own it, you should purchase it, of course.
Yes. And so the autumn bundle is, I think, after the power bundle, our second most popular bundles we have for Luminar NEO. So it really is very popular because it gives you the presets and LUTs and overlays. But because lots of our customers already have it, we thought, let's do something a little different this year and make it easier for people to choose. So we have come up with, I think, 12 different Halloween preset packs. We have come up with some really cool LUTs and overlays. And I also recorded a short Halloween editing course, which will all be available on our website. So already now it is. You can just head to cleverphotographer.com and find it there. And you can just pick and choose, you can buy it all for a really cool price, or you can get multiple and just use them for the upcoming Halloween season. So definitely, if you're still looking for some assets, presets, LUTs, overlays, or if you just want to have a little bit more fun with the upcoming season and Luminar NEO, then check out the course and check out all of this at our website at Clever Photographer. I will, of course, add the link into the description of the podcast as well. Well, then that's about it. Holly, I have one more question. Are you much into the horror movies?
Not really. There's
Not really.
If it's a horror movie that's more of a comedy, I would watch that.
So my question is, do you have a favorite horror movie?
No, I don't. Do you?
I like Halloween. I am a big fan of Halloween. Yeah. I think I've seen them
Maybe I should rewatch it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched a horror movie since I was young, so maybe I should revisit that. Maybe I'll feel differently about it.
You don't need to necessarily. Maybe Hocus Pocus is also my favorite Halloween movie. Anyway, folks, on that note, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a lot of fun to have you, Holly. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes, and we'll see you all again next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. Now, there's only 3 things left to do. Subscribe to this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Visit our website at cleverphotographer.com/LumiCast to see what we have in store next. And stay creative and keep editing your photos no matter what anyone says.